Hello everyone, let us continue with our discussion. So in the previous lecture, we have discussed in detail about the forecasting of the interest rate, which is the main aspect of the fixed income, or you can say the bonds. But now we are coming towards the next point, which is very important, that is emerging market bond risk. Emerging market bond risk. See, what is the meaning of this term emerging market bond? See, the bond which is issued by the countries which are still developing. Write down the name of those countries: India, Turkey, South Africa, Indonesia, Brazil, etc. Clear? Emerging market bonds can definitely give you the high return, but they come with the high risk as well. Clear? So we must understand that what risk these markets will actually face, how we can analyze this risk, and what indicators are actually going to tell us that which country is safe or dangerous to invest in. Because see, you have the money, I am in US and I have huge amount of money, so I want return. Otherwise that sitting idle money will not fetch me anything. So I'll go to India, I'll go to Brazil, I'll go to South Africa, I'll go to Pakistan, I'll go to Bangladesh, China, Japan, I'll go to South Africa, wherever I wish I'll go. But before putting my money, I need to do the due diligence. I need to analyze which market is safe. Clear? Now the point is that why they are risky. Okay, there are four aspects, the reason because of which they are risky, but I am going to discuss the six major points. Okay, credit risk, okay, economic risk, political and social risk, legal and institutional risk, market risk, and currency risk. Clear? We will discuss each of them in short, one by one. Clear? Now, among all, credit risk is the most important risk. What does this means? The country have the ability and willingness to repay its debt. Both are important. Ability means, do the country have enough money, and willingness, even if they have money, do they want to pay? Okay, some country default, they fail to pay because of their political decisions or some inabilities. Clear? I consider that as a credit risk. Suppose I have given my $100 to Pakistan. What if I'll not recover it back? So it's $100 loss to me. So I don't want to take that before giving that money to Pakistan or Brazil, or can be India. If suppose I'll give that $100 to India, after 5 years, situation worst over here, I won't be able to recover that money. So in that situation, what will happen? I lose my important hardened money. Clear? Then we have the economic risk. Weak economy, low tax income, very difficult to repay the debt. Clear? Political and social risk means your government is unstable, huge corruptions, weak property rights, unreliable courts. So all these will make the repayment less certain. Clear? After that, we have legal and institutional risk. Okay, their legal frameworks is very weak. Okay, no one follow their structures, no one follow the rules and regulation inside the country. Okay, poor property rights, contract enforcements is there, illiquid. Okay, volatile capital flows, shallow market, financial markets. Clear? Many borrows in foreign currency, so there is a possibility there is a risk of devaluation of the currency. So all these are the major risk to a particular country. So before investing my money, I'll do my due diligence. Clear? So what you will see, few of the points like wealth and income concentration. Like if only few people will control most of the wealth, then economy will become unstable. Like if five family own 60% of the country wealth, then the economy is not diversified. This make the country risky. What if these five family will leave the country? Then country will collapse. Okay, income concentration and narrow tax base means if only a small portion of the population pay the tax, then governments will struggle with the revenue, and then it's hard for them to repay the money. Clear? Dependencies heavily on the oil, metals, agriculture, and other commodities. So these industries are cyclical in nature, sometimes goes up and down. So the country's income will also become unstable. Means if country's main income is generated through these sources, like if I'll tell you Dubai, suppose the demand for the oil will reduce, then the UAE, United Arab Emirates, their main source of revenue is from the oil, crude oil. What if the crude oil price will fall, demand will fall? The countries like Venezuela or Nigeria or UAE, they will collapse. But now to overcome the situation, they have created Dubai as a tourist spot. So their revenue is generated via tourism. Clear? Capital flow restrictions. There are many countries, they will put the limits on the money entering into the country, money leaving the country, currency uses. So these will indicate the high risk. Like Argentina often restrict how much dollars citizens can buy. Okay, beyond that it will be restricted. Clear? Even in India there is some restrictions, like you cannot take more than 2 lakh rupees with you, something like that. I'm not fully sure, but yes, there is some restrictions on some amount, clear, which you can carry or transfer. Poor fiscal or monetary policy. Okay, bad policy can cause high inflation, weak currencies, high debt. Clear? Weak education, infrastructure and technology, then definitely growth will remain low. Repayment ability will also remain low. Clear? High foreign borrowings. Like if a country borrow too much in USD or euros, so for them it's like that they have to repay in the foreign currency. And what if my currency will weaken? Debt will become expensive, high default risk. Like if Turkish lira fails, then Turkish dollar debt become hard for them. It's very hard to repay the debt which they have taken from the US dollars. Okay, now if your financial market is small or underdeveloped, then they cannot absorb the shocks and it becomes very volatile. Clear? Foreign investors enters quickly, but they also exit very quickly, so this will create sudden crash. Clear? Like foreign investor leaving Indonesia caused 1997 Asian financial crisis. Okay, their market could not absorb that shock when financial institution have withdrawn their money. So if you see these type of sign in any countries, so what you will do? Will you invest your money? The answer is no. Clear? So now you have to analyze the risk of the country properly. So basically there are some guidelines that will help us to determine whether the country is healthy or the country is in danger. Like the first one is the fiscal strength, means government deficit per GDP. If it is more than 4%, then there is a possibility of high credit risk, and I'm not going to involve into the trade with that particular country. Clear? Many emerging market will borrow the short term. Clear? So that they can refinance often. So if debt will grow too much, then there is a possibility of high default risk. Debt to GDP ratio, if it is 70 to 80%, it's very risky for the emerging market. Clear? Developed countries can still handle high debt because they have huge amount of source of revenue, but emerging countries cannot manage such high debt. Clear? 70 to 80% is way too huge. Clear? Then expected real growth rate. So investor expect that at least there is a 4% real growth rate after the adjustment of the inflation. So if it is less than 4%, then economy is slow and it is hard for the country to generate the income to repay the debt. So what you want, that the growth rate at least 4% after removing the impact of inflation. Clear? Then current account deficit should be current account deficit that should be greater than 4% of the if that is greater than 4% of the GDP, it's a warning sign. Clear? You should not invest your money because their current account deficit is way too huge. That means country is heavily dependent upon foreign money. Clear? They have to borrow huge amount of money so that they can cover up the difference between their import and exports. Clear? Then foreign debt levels. So emerging market definitely need the foreign money for growth. Clear? But if they borrow too much, it leads to the crisis. So if foreign debt is greater than 50% of the GDP, then it's a over leveraged economy, that means high risk. And if foreign debt is greater than 200% of their current account receipts, extremely high risky. Foreign debt greater than 200% of current account receipts. Current account means buy and sell, import and export. import and export, then it is going to be very risky. Clear? So basically the income which I am earning from export and services, clear? Suppose I am having an income of say $100, clear, but my debt is $300. So this is 200% more than, means I will earn only $100 but my borrowings are $300. Extremely high risk. Clear? So this will lead to the currency crash, banking crisis, or even default. Clear? Foreign exchange reserve, you also need to see that how much reserve do you have. Foreign exchange reserve, it is if it is less than 100% of the short term debt, if it is less than 100% of the short term debt, danger, and if it is greater than 200%, strong and safe. Clear? Should cover 100% of the short term external debt, that is the minimum expectation, and if it is not, it's a danger, and you have greater than 200%, you are considered to be a very strong country. Clear? And the last point which I, being an investor, should check is the government's attitude towards the reform. Like country particularly supports your structural reforms, privatizations, competition, strong property rights, rule of the law, low corruptions. They should attract the investment. They should have the low bond risk. Clear? But if the country is with the weak laws, nationalization, clear, corruptions, policy instability, then it leads to the high bond risk. Clear? So these things needs to be checked before I put my money into any given country. Are you clear? Do let me know if we can move ahead from here. So we have successfully completed the first section, that is your financial bonds. Clear? Fixed income. So this was our points which we have to discuss. So out of these 8 points, we have successfully covered the first 2 points. Clear? So we will keep this much in this lecture, and in the next lecture, we'll continue our discussion with the equity returns and the risk premium approach. Clear? Thank you.